Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ibrox press room. I'm here ahead of Rangers versus Napoli in the Champions League. Rangers' first home game in the Champions League at Ibrox in 12 years. And the big news is that Alfredo Morelos is making his start in what I make is, about 6 months now, isn't it? I think his first start since Dundee away towards the end of last season. That's the big news. People, I guess, have been waiting for Morelos to return to the team for a while. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst said yesterday that Morelos was making it hard to decide who to play up front, given he'd kind of improved since he was given that he was dropped from the team against PSV. And as I say, he leads the line for Rangers today. So I'll take you through the team. If you've not seen it, it's Alan McGregor in goals. Obviously, he comes in for John McLaughlin, who misses the game. Doesn't seem to be a serious injury. He was included in the Scotland squad, but not fit to play today. Tavernier at Lundstrom Goldson. I'm going to read it as if it's a back five because I think that's what it may be from the start, but I guess it's a team that gives flexibility to Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. So I presume it'll be Tavernier at Lundstrom, Goldson and Sands with Barisic. At left wing back, midfield three of Jack, Davies and Arfield, with Kent playing off Morelos. It could also obviously be more recognisable 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 with Scott Arfield tucked off the right, John Lundstrom, Ryan Jack and Stephen Davies in the middle and Kent off the left. I imagine it will give Van Bronckhorst the flexibility to switch between those two systems, but that's just my guess that it might be a back five in the start. The other top line, I guess, is no summer signings in that starting 11. You've not got Yilmaz, you've not got Davies, Matondo, Lawrence, Tillman. Lawrence is obviously injured. Suter is one that I've forgotten off the top of my head, Cholak. So that is, I guess, a bit of a poor indictment when you're looking at that. The fact that Davies, for whatever reason, isn't in that back three. If it is a back three, that pulls Lundstrom back, and there's obviously still that right wing question goes on. So it remains to be seen if this is a team that can go out and get a result against Napoli. But I definitely think after the summer transfer window, you'd expect a couple of players at least to be able to impact the first team squad in a game like this. But Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has opted for somewhat of a tried and tested starting 11, and he brings Alfredo Morelos back into the fold as mentioned. Napoli go with Merritt, Kim, Mario Rui, Ramani, Simeone, Zielinski, Politano, Di Lorenzo, Labotka. The number 77, whose name I can't pronounce, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst couldn't either yesterday, and Zambo and Guisa, so pretty recognisable team for then Victor Osimhen, the Nigerian centre forward. He misses out through injury, came off against Liverpool in the first Champions League match day. So let's get through some of the comments ahead of the game tonight. Rangers, easy okay, kind of getting in touch with the point that we were just speaking about. Evening, Joshua. Glad Alfie is back, but no summer signings in the team. Sums up our recent recruitment. Yeah, I mean, what are we in now? We're in mid-September. You're not talking about being 2 weeks into the season. You're talking about being 6 or 7 weeks on from the opening game against Livingston. The fact that Rangers don't have any summer signings in there, I guess, is a bit of an indictment of whether at this early stage recruitment has been a success or not. Certainly, it's hard to argue the case for a couple of months into the season. Equally, of course, it's great news that Alfredo Morelos is back in there. I think that'll give everyone a lift, and he's obviously waited a long time to play Champions League football. He's certainly made this played his part as much as anyone, is what I'm trying to say, in getting Rangers to this stage by being so consistent in the Europa League in the last number of seasons, and I'm sure he will be absolutely relishing playing in the Champions League proper tonight. CGM 55 says it's very very defensive lineup. Kent I can't read that as CGM will get me in trouble, but CGM perhaps making the point that Ryan Kent hasn't been at his best, hasn't been in his best run of form. I think most people would agree with that. I guess there's two options when a player is in a bad run of form. Either you try and get them to play themselves into form, play themselves out of bad form, or you drop them. And at the moment, as much as I don't think I had him in my team for the predicted team for the Ajax away leg, I think his performances have merited. Probably it'd be fair if he was dropped. He's one of Rangers' best players when he's at it, and Rangers as we've discussed, with no new summer signings in there, who else would you play in his place? Because I don't think Cholak and Morels will play up front. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has said previously, when he was asked about that that's not something he's really done. They need a bit of pace, I guess, in behind tonight. Kent and Morels obviously know one another very well. Ravi Matondo hasn't really hit the ground running yet, so there's not really an option but to play him. Obviously, Van Bronckhorst has made a few more changes. I thought Jack Arfield would come back in. They have Kamara and Tillman obviously dropping to the bench. So there is a few changes from the last couple of games. But in some areas, maybe there's just not the option to do that, to drop a player like Kent, as I say, when he's not probably going to play Kamara and not going to play Cholak and Morelos together up front. As Stephen says, we better not just sit back and park the bus. We will get punished badly with Napoli. Well, I guess it's the trade-off. You don't want to sit back too much. You don't want to hand over the game to Napoli, but equally, if you come onto them too much and leave lots of space in behind, then you could be punished that way as well. It'll be intriguing to see how Rangers approach this game. I don't think it will be the kind of really high and aggressive start that we were accustomed to seeing last season. That wasn't the case against PSV. It was a lot more measured. This isn't a second leg. This is obviously a group stage game. And if it is that back five, then maybe Rangers are going to try and spring on Napoli. But this is a Napoli team that just put 4 goals past Liverpool, are top of their league in Italy, Serie A. So they obviously have a lot of quality to call upon, and I'm sure that will have been taken into consideration when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was making the team. David not happy, saying awful team, no pace and too defensive. Yeah, I guess that's maybe one of the reasons that Kent being in there is a bit of a necessity, because there isn't much pace in that team at all. You look at the wing-back situations, Tavernier and Barisic not really got pace to break away. Kent's someone that does possess that. Morelos can get you up the pitch in a way that I don't think anyone else in the team can. If Rangers need an outball, if they need some way to get themselves up the pitch and play through a press, he can isolate himself up against defenders. And him and Kent, you cast your mind back to when Rangers went to a 5-3-2 against Borussia Dortmund in the second half here back in, February, and Kent and Morelos played into space and ran the Dortmund backline then absolutely ragged. I'm sure their manager would like a performance of similar repute today, because Rangers need a performance. Rangers need, obviously, they'd like a result. I think playing against a team of Napoli's quality, have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt, depending on what the expectation is. The Rangers need a performance after 2 4-0 defeats. You can't go and have anything like that again. I think away in Ajax, the team didn't look like they have so often in Europe, which is always playing with resolve, not being blown away by goals in quick succession. With the crowd tonight, who've just changed so many European games in the last kind of 6 months and will definitely play a part, Rangers will hope to create an atmosphere and a game that can lead to something positive for them, because they need that. 2 games before now, the international break, definitely need some better performances to hold on to going forward. I think it's completely valid to have concerns about the lack of new signings in there, whether that be the fact that Ben Davies and Yilmaz, who's a lot of money was spent onto the starting 11, that left centre back and even left wing back role. But we'll have to see how the team perform, and I guess come back to that conversation later. We'll obviously be live after the game, and you can follow us on Twitter during the game. We'll be providing updates, and then tomorrow morning, tonight, we'll have loads of content and reaction for you over on the website. Remember, you can subscribe just £1 for 2 months. So I was struggling to read that as I talk there. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe if you want to be a part of the action. And we'll be back at full-time live from the gantry after hopefully a positive 90 minutes, and enjoy the game whether you're heading along to Ibrox or watching from elsewhere.